Thank you all for being here today. My name is Keith Harvey. I was born and raised in Southwest Little Rock, and I now live in Midtown with my wife Priscilla and kids Gibbs and Sterling. And I met the mayor, Mayor Scott, through some mutual friends, Director Antoine Phillips and Telly Noel, and we immediately bonded over our love of Southwest Little Rock, but also our love for the entire city of Little Rock. We've become good friends over the years, and I'm proud to be here today to support him. I'm a corporate attorney here in Little Rock, and being here today reminds me of my first few years as an attorney in downtown Little Rock. I lived in Meadowcliff at the time, and I would drive down Asher and come up Wright Avenue, and I would pass this beautiful building, and I'm excited and grateful to see it continuing to flourish all these years later. Mayor Scott has a similar story. He lives in Southwest Little Rock and used to tell the story about how he would travel from Southwest over to the First Security Bank offices in West Little Rock. And I think that's important because it shows to me that Mayor Scott knows Little Rock. He knows the people of Little Rock, and he loves this city. He's traveled its roads from Fush Dam Road to Chenal Mountain, from Country Club Road down to South Chico. And he's represented its citizens these past years as a mayor with strength and compassion and care. And I know he will continue to do so as our next mayor. And I'm now excited to introduce to you Angel Burt. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Greetings, everyone. My name is Angel Burt, and I have been a resident of this wonderful historic community, Dunbar Historic District, for over 20 years. We have raised our 3 children right here in this community, who all went to the historic Dunbar Magnet Middle School. My mother also attended Dunbar High School. She's 90 years old now. So it is a complete privilege to be standing here in this community today to acknowledge Mayor Frank Scott's candidacy. I'm supporting my friend and my mayor, Frank Scott Jr., because I believe it is still time to rebuild the Rock. For too long, the powers that be in Little Rock have forgotten about us. Here we are at the Hearn Center in the historic Dunbar community, one of the first black communities in Little Rock and America that allowed black people to be their very best. The community has given us famous first, attorney Scipio A. Jones, the great composer Florence Price, both lived on Cross Street here in this historic district. Entrepreneur John E. Bush of Mosaic Templars lived on what we now call Chester Street. The first black Wall Street journalist, Herbert Denton, who attended Dunbar High, and many, many others. And of course, before there was Little Rock Central, there was the great Paul Laurence Dunbar High School and Vocational College, one of the top black high schools in the nation. Most people didn't believe a kid from Southwest Little Rock would grow up to be a banker, an associate pastor, a state highway commissioner, or even walk the halls of the state capitol shaping Arkansas policy. And most people didn't believe he would be elected to be the first black mayor of Little Rock. But here we are today in the first black community in Arkansas with the first black mayor of Arkansas's largest city. I am so proud. However, those that have called themselves leader in Little Rock still want to leave our homes and schools in shambles without necessary infrastructure for future growth, send our tax dollars to more affluent neighborhoods, build highways through our communities, and police our cities without being a part of the community. Mayor Scott was voted into office with a vision for all Little Rock, not just a few that are privileged, affluent, and who will do anything to keep the mayor's vision from becoming reality. Well, his job is not finished, and there is still plenty of work left to be done. In November 2022, we need to re-elect Mayor Frank Scott to finish the job that he started. So let's re-elect my friend Frank Scott Jr. as mayor of Little Rock in 2022. That's only 10 months away, and let's finish the job we started to rebuild the Rock for all. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Frank Scott Jr.
Before we start this morning, it's prudent, purposeful, and timing that we take this time of a moment of silence to the life lost this past weekend to senseless gun violence. But not only that life, the 64 lives that were lost in 2021, the 55 lives that were lost in 2020, and the 43 lives that were lost in 2019. May we all take this moment of silence. Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. I want to take this time to acknowledge my dear friends, Keith Harvey, my dear friend, Angel Burt, who are true community leaders that are always showing up. Whether it's seen or unseen, they are always there for the residents of Little Rock. They're always there for their community. I also want to take this time to acknowledge my family, my friends, and loved ones who've always stood in the gap. I stand on many shoulders. Without them, this is not possible. And so I want to take this time to share my appreciation to them. But here today, I'm excited about today because it is the beginning of a new phase of our growth and progress in this city, the Arkansas state capital city. On this first day of Black History Month, my candidacy is for re-election of mayor. I want to take this time that we understand what happened on December 4th, 2018 was a historic day. This city entrusted many things unto me, making me the 73rd mayor of the great city of Little Rock, my beloved city, and I'm so happy that this day is here again. It is a special day. As a true son of Little Rock, a product of our Little Rock public schools, a pastor in our community, and a local business leader, I saw running for mayor as an opportunity to share what we needed to do, to unite, to grow, and to transform the city of Little Rock. So much has been given unto me. There's so much of that has happened that I had to give it back to our city. Because, as I shared earlier, I stand on the shoulders of many giants. Whether it's Lottie Shackelford, Ernest Green, Scipio Jones, Florence Price. Without them, this administration does not even happen. So I cast my vision for Little Rock and ask the residents of Little Rock to choose me again. But it's not about me. It's about all of us. To choose unity again. To choose growth again. To choose transformation again. Because we cannot stop now. I still remember on December 4th, this old, cold day. I think back to Esther 4:14. And Mordecai, the godfather, the uncle, the man that raised Esther, saw Esther at a certain place and time in her life that said that you are now queen. If you do not step up right now or remain silent, things will not pass the way they should for such a time as this. And so it is the time again to forward our movement. As your mayor, I know that Little Rock needs and continues to need bold leadership and bold action. However, there were things about this moment that I do not know. Because no one understood that we would experience an historic flood. When I took that oath of office on January 9th, January 1st, 2019, no one would understand that we would experience not only a historic flood, but we also would experience a historic snowstorm. But also, we have not seen a global pandemic since 1918. That is what been before us today. But we also have seen the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, senseless deaths. And it's time that we continue to focus on how we change our city's future. But no matter the challenge, I knew that the status quo in the business community, we have to all focus together and work together and not deal with getting on just to get along. I love Little Rock. And I made a promise to voters that I would do everything within my power to create jobs, strengthen our communities economically, grow our economic standing within the region and within this nation and this state, reform public safety, improve education, and expand affordable housing. Those are our pillars. Those are our pillars today. And I'm proud to say that I have kept my word. I've kept the promise. We've even kept the faith to ensure that we continue to grow forward. More families and entrepreneurs are choosing Little Rock as home to raise their children and nurture their ambitions right here in the state's capital city. The city has grown to more than 202,000, 202,591 to be exact. And we have announced more than 7,000 new jobs in our city since I've taken office. We've overcome disasters. We've been resilient with record-breaking climate change issues. And we are continuing to unite through COVID-19 with our recovery efforts. Through it all, we still made progress. And there's so much more progress we can make together by transforming our city with even greater jobs and growth, economic development in every part of the city, and neighborhood safety. This is growing forward. This is growing forward. It's no secret that Little Rock is open for business. Whether you're in Southwest Little Rock with the new Jack Tyler headquarters at the old Spalding building, whether you're right here in Wright Avenue, in the historic Wright Avenue area, seeing just across the street a potential electric vehicle charging station, right here at Hearn Fine Art, we have the opportunity to create more growth. Whether it's new grocery stores, whether it's focusing on what we've been able to do with Amazon and reshape the history, because we all understood that FedEx started here first and left, but Amazon saw something in Little Rock, and we're grateful for that growth. Or whether it's Costco or Trader Joe's, Alleviant Health, HMS Manufacturing, and the list goes on. Little Rock, this is our home. We've seen growth, and there's more growth to be done. We need to all continue to work together. So we say thank you to Revolution that's growing in the port. We say thank you to the whole entire Little Rock Port Authority. Reason why? Because our city, the state's capital city, has 4 assets that continue with our growth. That's river, rail, road, and our airport. We've expanded the river market, and we created new entertainment districts in Soma, South Main Street, and lots of opportunity in Little Rock to grow our diverse recruitment networks. Because we understand that we have to continue to increase diversity in the marketplace. Speaking of the workforce, this can't be overstated. My administration has announced 5 times more jobs in just 3 years than the previous 5. I want you to understand that. We've experienced historic jobs growth. And at this very moment, we are standing at the corner of history and progress. The Dunbar Neighborhood Association District neighborhood, we were here today because it is the oldest black community on this first day of Black History Month. John Suchasipia Jones, one of Little Rock's prominent black attorneys, who famously defended the 12 men who were sentenced to death in 1919 Elaine Massacre. The renowned classical music composer Florence Price, William Grant Steele, and the first student to graduate from Central High, Ernest Green. This is their neighborhood. This is our neighborhood. This is our city, standing in the gap of history and progress. And we know in 7 years, Dunbar, to my left, will experience their 100th anniversary. And we know the history of Dunbar. There's no Little Rock Central High without Dunbar. We must never forget. But this community is also where signs of progress and economic growth are taking root after decades of stagnation. To my right, as we share, we have this demolition right now. We know what the electrical vehicle will do. We understand more economic progress there, but we also understand behind us will be condos, mixed-use development. Land has already been cleared, and we say thank you to Garbo and Archie Hearn for all the great work that you've done to be committed, because you've decided to be intentional about growth in the Wright Avenue area. We think about, if you don't go to Martin Luther King Jr., if you're from Little Rock, you know it's High Street. The growth that we're starting to see now with new development with the Murphy Jeffries building. We're glad that that building has been revived, and you'll see more to come here in the future. This is the history of progress. The history of progress is focused on intentionality. The history of progress is focused on innovation. The history of progress is focused on inclusion. And throughout this time, we need to continue to focus on how we grow forward together, because it is purposeful work. Through our economic incentives, ensuring that we have waived close to $1 million south of 630, east of I-30, right here in the heart of impoverished areas. Areas that for far too long have been neglected, and that's the reason why we took those intentional steps. And that's the reason why now you're seeing that close to 55% of new business growth over the last year and a half happened south of 630, east of I-30. People ask questions on what we're doing. We're ensuring that we have economic mobility. Economic mobility ensures that we have not only economic mobility, but it increases the upliftment of our communities. That is true targeted community development, and that's the reason why, in addition to waiving the $1 million, we put forth another $1 million of true cash to ensure that we have better sidewalks, ensure that we have better drainage, ensure that we understand that infrastructure is clearly the foundation of economic development. So I'm committed to changing the way we do business at City Hall, and everybody's not happy about it at all. But you all elected me to do something different, not to do the same. And that's the reason why we will continue to be intentional. We will continue to educate. We'll continue to engage. We will continue to ensure that we do the work. And the work is for the people and by the people. We will ensure that no one is shut out. As we understand, as crime has spiked across this country, and right here at home, we implemented a strategy to ensure that all vacancies in Little Rock Police Department have been filled. We have the highest strength of our police force today than we ever have in the past 10 to 15 years. But we understand there's still more work to do, because we can have 1,000 or 2,000 officers, because if we don't address the root causes of the issues, whether it's education, job opportunities, mentoring, understanding that we have to have more diversion projects to ensure that our youth are not idle, that our young adults have hope, that they know they don't have to turn to a life of crime, that they understand that there's hope in the midst of the agony. And that's the reason why we spent close to $3 million towards utilizing our American Rescue Plan Act dollars to ensure that we are truly focused on community violence intervention, to truly have this intervention and not just public safety from a law enforcement standpoint, but understanding that we have to have human safety, that we focus on the human infrastructure. And that is the reason why we appointed our first Chief Education Officer, Dr. Jay Barth, because we understood that we had to create community school models, first of its kind, and now everyone is trying to do it across this state. Why? Because we understood the assignment. We understood that we had to provide wraparound services for our at-risk youth at our most at-risk schools. That's the reason why they're now at 4 elementaries, and now we're expanding to our middle schools. That's because of the work of Dr. Jay Barth. That's because of the work of Superintendent Mike Poore, the Little Rock School District Board. Oh, by the way, this administration helped work to ensure that our school district came back under control, local control. That's what intentionality means for all of us. In addition, our promise to increase accountability and transparency in policing our city, to ensure that we have true 21st century community police. And by doing that, we created Arkansas's first citizen review police board. We funded body cameras for our officers to ensure we have our act plan in order, accountable, clear, transparent. We've significantly reduced no-knock warrants usage within our city. But not only that, we revised our use of force policy to protect Little Rock residents, banning chokeholds, adding a duty to intervene policy. These have been intentional efforts to understand that we have to have true community policing true law enforcement and public safety to ensure that we all are working together, both the law enforcement and the community at large. Now, is our city safe as it should be? Absolutely not. Are we throwing up our hands because this steep increase in crime is happening all across the country? Absolutely not. But crime does not happen in a bubble. See, job growth is fueled by economic development. And economic mobility helps create an atmosphere for safer neighborhoods. You want to see a safe neighborhood? Figure out how many people have a job. Figure out how many people have access to capital. Figure out how many people truly understand financial literacy. And you'll see a stark difference. And that's the reason why we're focused on the wraparound services for our community schools model. That's the reason why we're focused on targeted community development within south of 630 and east of I-30. That is what we're trying to do today. We will be one of the safest cities in the country. I want us all to understand that, but we have to not only focus on public safety, but also human safety. But it can't be understated, the importance of education and what it does for our children on how we resolve conflict. Because this is a priority. I'm committed to strengthening our partnerships with the Little Rock School District, but not only the Little Rock School District, our entire community of organizations. That's what we have to do in these vulnerable times as we reach our vulnerable brothers and sisters to ensure that we're lifting everyone up together. That is how we focus on this type of development. By providing enrichment programs, by ensuring that we focus on social and emotional learning so we can prevent academic and disciplinary actions. That is what we're doing today. We are growing forward in education. And as a proud graduate of Little Rock Public Schools, it's good to know our schools are back. We cannot let that understated, that at one point our schools were under state control in the middle of the 60th anniversary of the Little Rock Nine. But we all worked together to ensure we brought it back. And so as we're thinking through these things today, I just want us to all understand how much we have to continue to focus on how we grow forward. And as we come to a close, we focused on how we match our purpose, our promise, towards our potential. We're not just focused on unity, but to truly be a catalyst for the New South, we have to continue to focus on growth and transformation. And that is how we are growing forward. So join us on this growing forward movement. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.